Good morning, everybody. My name is Beth Brady, and I am not Claudia Romo Edelman, as you can see. I am actually the chairman of the advisory board and strategic advisor to We Are All Human, and I am also CMO at Chief Outsiders. And so I am stepping in this morning for Claudia. As many of you know that follow her on Instagram or any of her social media, her mother has coronavirus and is currently hospitalized on a respirator. And so Claudia is spending time doing what is most important, which is taking care of family. So in the near term, I will be stepping in to make sure that all of this important content continues to come your way. So you can see my, next week, if Claudia is still not with us, I'll be joining you with some other great speakers. So continue to stay tuned to this webinar because there's great information coming your way. So with that, I want to pivot to what today's about. And today, I have to tell you, I'm very excited about our guest today. It's Shelley Zalis. She's the CEO of the Female Quotient. And Shelley, like Claudia, is an activist, a thought leader around inclusion and equality, specifically focused on women. And so I'm thrilled. I've known Shelley for quite some time, and I've been on the other side of this, being interviewed by Shelley on panels. So it's kind of fun for me to turn the tables a little bit and bring Shelley out. So Shelley, thank you so much for joining us. Boy, how are things going at the Female Quotient? Maybe what we can start with is a little bit about the work you do, and so that everybody has that doesn't know of you has some understanding of what Female Quotient is.
First of all, I'm thrilled to be here, Beth, and I'm so happy to be together. And one of the things that, women often do is we just have great conversation. So it's not, who's on which side. We're both on, the same. And I think that's what makes conversation so special is we just have, coffee talk. I actually have my coffee. And I'm like, cheers.
Cheers.
Which I think is amazing. Okay, here we go.
All righty.
And also to Claudia, our hearts are with you and we love you so much. So we're sending you big virtual hugs and especially to your mom. But thank you for having me. And I also have to say, I love that you're Chief Outsider and my nickname is Chief Troublemaker. So I think that those names just pretty much say it all. And the other day I started thinking about minorities and on the outside, and I thought, the collective minority is greater than the majority. And when you put us all together, we have this incredible power and this incredible impact. And so to go back to your first question, I'm Shelley Zalis, the CEO of the Female Quotient. The Female Quotient is all about advancing women and advancing equality through a few key avenues. One is through experiences. We do collaborative experiences, which is pop-ups at big industry conferences. We're doing, pre-COVID, about 60 experiences around the globe every year, from connecting leaders in media, marketing, advertising, research, technology, entertainment, finance, world leaders. And then we also do pop-ups on university campuses to bring the next generation, which I think is the now generation, into entry-level positions, bringing together our partners with our future leaders. We'll also, we're about to launch a big dinner series to unite the world through the power of women. And then the second piece of our business is the business of equality, solutions, creating solutions for change. We have been admiring the problems for so long. It's time to activate next step solutions for change, create measurement, but most importantly, accountability for that change. And so that's what we do in a nutshell. And of course, always working with Claudia and team has been just wonderful, bringing all of us. We say we're powered by collaboration, we're better together. A company alone is power, collectively we have impact. And when you look at the world, we have all been talking about equality, talking about the wage gap, talking about the diversity gaps, and yet the gaps keep widening. And so the only way we are going to close them is by uniting on equality, closing the door, opening the new ones, and stop waiting for legacy to catch up, because it runs way faster than reality overall.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And as I said, I've always loved and admired the work you do. Let me ask you this next question. So a couple of weeks ago, I joined the webinar with Claudia, and my background, of course, is in transformation, business transformation and turnaround, working at companies like General Mills and Principal Financial Group and others. And one of the things I talked about is, boy, in times like this, you have a choice. You can be afraid and you can ignore what's going on, or you can take a look around and say, how do I operate in this new world? So knowing that your organization, a big piece of what you do is you bring people together physically at all of these venues, of which I've been to many of them, and help unite and help get people excited about the difference they can make. And you're bringing men and women together, not just women, which I've always thought was a great model for anybody else that's trying to do this. So now you can't physically bring them together. There's no girls' lounges, at World Economic Forum in Cannes and all these places. How have you moved your business model to address this situation?
Well, it's just what you said. You can look at the glass half empty, or you can look at the glass half full. And, fear does push you. If we all were comfortable, we would be at a status quo kind of moment. So, I often say, even pre-COVID, you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that uncomfortable pushes you to that next place, right or wrong, but it does move you out of your comfort zone. And so when, there was no option to have physical equality lounges, for us all to be together, we pivoted. And it was within 24 hours, we came up with, we need to pivot with positivity and we need to pivot with proactivity. And so we went virtual pretty much overnight, and the signs were on the wall when Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, which is bringing the whole, tech mobile industry together, that got canceled. And then a minute later, South by Southwest in Austin was canceled. After South by Southwest, and we still didn't really know the implications of COVID at the time, we just said, equality never stops. We can't stop the conversation and we can't stop the action, especially in a pandemic like this. If the gaps were wide before, we talk about parity, policy, pipeline, and pathway. If those gaps were wide before, they are just going to widen during this pandemic. We must keep us all together, engaged. No one should be alone. We talk about social distancing. We say it's physical distancing and socially connected. I think we've never been more socially connected today. And so it was just a pivot. And I wanted to also retain all of our employees. We have 26 full-time employees, and we collectively as a team said, we will all take pay cuts to make sure all of us stay together. And we had to completely learn new skills in 24 hours. And so our experience team that usually does the physical experiences became Zoom experts, WebEx, Zoom, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live. We just became experts overnight. Not we, they did. I'm still not very good at it. But it was, amazing. And like our content team started doing more in social, and everyone just started picking up whatever they could. And no judgment, we're not great at this, but we're doing it. And whatever it is, it's good enough. And there have been so many priceless moments of learning that when we go forward, I never go back. When we go forward to whatever the new normal is, a lot of these practices that we are putting in place right now by default, that are now ors, will become ands, because there's so many amazing things that we're doing that I love, that I want to bring forward with us.
That's great. I know that when Claudia and I were talking about her business model and how she needed to pivot, one of the things I talked with her about is, you were working towards a set of problems that has now been supplanted by another set of problems. And so you need to think about, how are you going to address this new set of problems? So, you found a way to continue to deliver your message, but are you addressing a revised set of problems, or maybe some additional problems as you're delivering content? And what might those be?
I think it's a lot of the same because, they haven't gone away. So we are not going to jump over them. We need to close all the gaps. I mean, that is just a reality. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Hopefully, it won't take 257 years, according to the World Economic Forum, to do that. We must do that, I hope within the next 5 years. So those conversations are still the same. How do we close the wage gap? How do we fill the pipeline? How do we ensure the pathway to leadership? And how do we really focus in and reallocate dollars from policies that corporations are spending money on to ones that can truly, impact change and especially advance women and advance equality? That all stays the same. What has now happened, though, is those gaps have widened. So what it has forced us to do, which is where, necessity is the mother of invention. We have been more innovative, we have been more creative, and we have jumped on, very quickly what we need to do now. So we've been building tools, not only to measure the gap in general and help companies figure out how to close them, but we created a COVID gap analyzer so that we can look at how much bigger is the situation, especially when you look at women are losing their jobs, their entry level. Those are the first to be furloughed. So their salaries are being cut, they're being furloughed. So whatever the problem was before, it just got amplified. Mm-hmm. So I think we just are accelerating our efforts that might have taken us, because normally I'm on the road 5 days a week. I'm always home weekends for the most part, but I'm traveling 5 days a week. I always say that United Airlines is my home away from home. And so now I'm anchored here. But when I'm running so fast, you have very little time to pause, that pause moment. And so I think we've taken quick pauses, not long ones, to say, what do we need to be doing now? And let's reprioritize, refocus, and put things in place that will help us mitigate or at least create solutions when we come back to how to fix the bigger problems.
Yeah, that's great. These bigger problems, we talked a little bit beforehand, but maybe you can share with the group, there's always when you're solving one problem, there's always these unintended consequences that come from it. So, solving a pandemic with quarantining and working from home and all of that, what are some of the unintended consequences that particularly impacting probably, women and minorities and others? What are some of those that you're seeing?
Well, I think number one, caregiving is still predominantly a female issue. It's still a woman's responsibility for the most part. And so imagine now having to work at home and educate your children. If you have kids that are all in school, you become a teacher overnight. You have to manage, everyone's got, and you have to focus on your business. So I think the work-life balance, even though I don't believe in the word balance, but the work-life integration has exponentially gotten greater. So I think for caregivers, I think this has become a big issue. For people living alone, it's isolating. And so the alone together, I think, is just two words that are so important, making sure that everyone has someone to connect with. So none of us feel, alone. It's the alone together part that I think is so important. And small business owners, this is, I'm a female small business owner, and it's really challenging. I'm a seasoned one. I've been building and, running companies for a long time, but there is no seasoned or no seasoned in this day and age. You just gotta, you're in the hot fire and you gotta figure out, how to stay afloat. And then working moms, that are small business owners in particular. These are really challenging times. And I just read a statistic that really, I should say, didn't surprise me, but I didn't see a number, and the impact of that the anxiety is increasing by the billions, and that working moms really are having a very difficult time engaging in work and family at the same time. It's really negatively impacting them. And the impact, 81% of women say it's negatively impacting them. Mm-hmm. The dollars the number I just saw, that the problem that we are seeing with working moms could add 34, I think, was it 30, $341 billion to negatively impact the US economy.
Wow.
341 billion. Like, so these numbers, when you look at isolated numbers, the cumulative number is really daunting. And, you know,
and I think we all know people that are struggling with that right now. I have family members that are doing that, just what you said, working from home and have kids at home and they're homeschooling, and you know, it's already a tense situation. So but the economic impact is significant. So a question on that one. So one of the things that people may not know about you, but they look you up, they'll see is, you know, you have an amazing network of leaders. I mean, from every walk of life, from celebrities to business leaders. I mean, I've been to your girls' lounge and seen some of the most incredible people and CEOs, and both men and women. And so what are you telling them in terms of like things that they should be thinking of to within their own worlds to be able to help make sure that this problem doesn't you know, just explode on us, and that we don't go backwards to what you were saying?
Yeah, first of all, I have to say, I love, Beth, that you still call it the Girls Lounge, because that is how we started. There was a boys club. We created a Girls Lounge, creating a space to connect. But it's where the heart is. I mean, because I still miss the words "the Girls Lounge." We have evolved to a Quality Lounge now, but in it's you know, day one, and it started by accident. The Girls Lounge, it was just a space to connect women, to support one another, and we've now built the largest global community of women, of over 50,000 women in the workplace, you know, across the board, across industry, and you know, in different countries, so globally. And that's what we all still feel is the Girls Lounge, because it was our safe space to find our voices and stand in our power and own our ambition, and most importantly, really support each other. So I love that you keep saying Girls Lounge, because that really was where we started.
I love it.
I know.
It was there for me as well, as I'm a woman coming up and as an executive, and you know, trying to navigate as well. So it was
I love it. It's so it always just makes me smile when I hear you say that. But and then we evolved to the Equality Lounge, because it was, once we created this pack where we could all find our voices, and we didn't have to conform to the rules that made no sense, and we didn't have to hide our differences, which now was, our differences are our greatest strength, and let's bring those soft powers to the table, which, by the way, are what we are seeing, even especially in crisis moments. Countries run by women are most successfully navigating through this pandemic. And when you look at the leadership qualities that I think, you know, people are discovering or amplifying or showcasing or highlighting right now, it is the compassion. It is the ability to listen. It is showing that emotion and that nurturing quality, which are the soft powers, which, you know, we have always said the caregiving qualities, in my opinion, are the greatest strengths of leadership today. So we're starting to see that all come to fruition. But looking at how, you know, we call them quality hacks. There's some solutions that are just really easy, and they're right in front of your face. I am so tired of hearing people say, well, it's an unconscious bias issue. Well, if you use the word unconscious, you're conscious.
right.
So if you understand that you have a wage gap, well, you have two choices: do something about it or don't. You know, there's no such thing as trying. You either do it or you don't. I mean, we've all heard that expression before. You know, I can tell you to try to pick up this pen. You're either going to pick it up or you're not. And so, it starts with conscious awareness of the problem. Once you're conscious, there are steps you can take. Measure where you are. Create, you know, the solutions, and some of them are simple. There are tools, you know, that help you understand where you are, and there are also ones that help you fix it, you know. And leadership isn't just about the CEO pushing it down. It's about all of us taking responsibility, you know, all around. Pipeline. It's easy to fill the pipeline, but how do we then ensure that we keep people in the pipeline and map the pathway for success. We always think about part one, but you got to think about how you're going to get all the way there. We start 50-50 in the workplace. We end at less than 17% in the C-suite. We lose all these women in middle management, or what we call the messy middle. So how do we work on policies that will be great for attracting and retaining the best talent, not the available talent? So it's really, it all starts with consciousness. Yeah. Then it starts with willingness. Are you willing to do what it takes? Do you want to? If not, don't even bother. But if you're in, you got, and keep pushing forward. They don't have to be big steps, but they have to always be steps moving forward. Don't go backwards. And that's why in this pandemic, era, we can't go backwards. We will lose all the work we've done. We have to go forward and accelerate, a lot of the things that we started on. And I think that's what the Equality Lounge does. It brings leadership together to share the good, bad, and the ugly. We have all been doing the same thing in silos, which is why we're going backwards. We don't have unlimited funds. Let's collect it and let's help each other. We have to unite on equality. That's one thing, no matter how competitive companies are, we need to unite on equality and share with one another so we ensure that we keep making progress going forwards.
I love that. I mean, I think that is so dead on. We're running out of time here. So tell people how, if they want to participate in the work you do. And I encourage everyone. I get your Female Quotient emails and I follow you and can't wait till the time when we can get together again, but it feels good. And I think we all need that. But if people want to, tap into the work you're doing, how should they do that?
Oh, thank you. You can follow us on social across the board at Shelley Zalis or at Female Quotient. If you would like to receive invitations, you can, to all the events we do, both physically and virtually. We're doing a lot of those now. On social, you can follow us and send us a message and we'll put you into the database to receive invitations. And most importantly, I think it's looking within, looking in the mirror. And, leadership is not about age. Leadership is not about title. Leadership is about action. We all have leadership in us. You just got to unlock it and believe in yourself and then do something. I think that's really just the best way to get started, is know that you can take a little step, a big step, sideways, forwards, or, in any direction. That's a step, and take them.
Great. Well, thank you. I mean, I could talk with Shelley all day long, and we have talked all day long, but I really appreciate, and I know Claudia really appreciates you joining us and sharing your wisdom and the work that you are doing, which, you're right, collectively with the work that Claudia is doing and some others is going to make a difference in this area of equality. And it's great work. And thank you so much for joining us today. To everyone else, I would say we're glad you could attend. There's some great conversations that are going to be happening next week, so please tune into those. And please, everyone, keep Claudia and her mom in your thoughts and prayers. We hope so much that this is a frontline situation, right? We're all living it right now. And when you know somebody, and I happen to know Claudia's mom, that's affected, it really brings this home. But we have to be together, and we have to continue to work together to solve it. So thank you, Shelley, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll look forward to be back here next week with some more great content. All right.
Thank you, Beth.
Great day, Shelley.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
Thank you. You were wonderful, by the way.
Thank you. I learned from a star.
We learn from each other every day.
We do.
Sending you love. Bye, sweetie.
All right.
Stay safe, stay healthy.